All right, it is Sunday, the weekend of May 12th, and welcome to the Trader Hub Weekly Market Review. Taking a look at the price action for the indexes last week, starting with the NQ. As always, a bit of a slow week, not too unexpected, right? I mean, we did kind of just make a huge move. We were expecting maybe, like we talked about last time, we could kind of retest some of these areas down here, or, hold, gain above, and kind of continue higher. Looking at these major levels being this area around 18,150-ish to hold, and the kind of main areas to gain being about 18,300-ish. We have it marked 291. Ended up holding the lower range and actually gaining 291. So important looks here, and things to consider really are, we did gain this and then immediately lose that, but having gained this, that is still fine. We've kind of put in a higher low, so now we can continue, and if we can regain this again and hold, we can potentially move higher. If we see that, it will definitely look like we have regained the failure that sent us down, and we'll be talking about potentially making further gains to retest all-time high. At that point, if we do regain that and hold for higher, 18,300, it does look like we have completely nullified the potential downtrend here. So that is really important. That's why we've been talking about that level for, the whole time we came down here. We were saying it's possible to retest up here, and that's why we're focused on this level in that range before. If we do end up coming back up there, failing to regain, we'll end up making a new low lower than that low. We could come back and kind of retest 18,000, maybe 71, maybe the high of the range that sent us up here. So, call it 18,000 even, really. If that continues to fail, we could see even lower, but, we've done a lot of gaining. So at this point, all signs kind of point till higher, unless one of these lower ranges end up failing. So, not a ton happened last week, but kind of holding the consolidation at the highs is still a bullish look. So we'll just kind of have to see if we make further gains and continue higher, or if we end up failing and kind of move back to new lows, potentially for support, for higher even. I mean, we've done a lot of gaining. That's the important thing to see here. The ES looks very similar, though it is a bit more definitively constructive. So instead of like the NQ kind of barely kind of ranging and moving a little bit higher, we have definitively gained and are holding the range that ended up sending us down. So, this 5,250 level, we have gained that. We are now below it, but we're still in the range. So what we're looking for is a very similar look to the NQ. Can we continue to push higher, end up making moves back to the highs, or are we going to end up kind of finding some resistance and potentially coming back lower here? This is a lot more of a constructive look definitively than the NQ, like I was saying. So I would say we're at the point where we've kind of nullified the downtrend unless we lose 5,200 again. But unless that happens, it looks like we're potentially going to come back up and reclaim 5,280, and if we do gain that, it does look like we're going to make a new all-time high here as well. Not saying that we can't double top, but our fib projection, like we've been talking about for a while, is 5,365, so we would be very fast approaching that if we do make a new high. So things to consider, on the ES chart, if you really want to talk about it, the level to hold still currently down here at 5,200. So as long as we hold that area, we will likely see higher. If that level fails, we'll probably see more downside, just like the same on the NQ. Looking at the small caps, RTY, a nice looking, similar stair-stepping look, a bit of a tighter range like NQ, but we have gained the major level and are holding above 2,043, like we were talking about, really kind of being interested in that level to kind of verify longs are back on. They are back on, but unlike some of the other charts, we do need to see a little bit further gaining to say that shorts are totally invalidated. The short origin that we've been talking about for weeks, from back here when we first confirmed the downtrend, if we can regain that level at 2,100, we're going to, it's going to look really good for a blast off. We can hold that level, gain above it, and continue higher. It looks like we're going to make a new high higher than the previous high, so that would be over 2160. So keep an eye out for that. It's possible that we could lose this level again if we, make new lows if we lose the level again at 2100. But we have this really nice, consistent, quintessential, higher high, higher low kind of look here, stair stepping to us on the 4 hours chart. So unless we lose 2020 again, it still looks like higher even on the RTY. A lot of these charts are going to look the same. And another kind of mention of a very definitively nice regain look on the chart. Gold has done exactly what it needs to do to regain the uptrend. Unlike the other charts, I would say this already has regained the uptrend. I think I talked about last week, we need to come back up and regain 2340, and also it would be great if we could come back and retest 2363. Well, it ended up closing the week above both levels, so that is a definitive gain. We could and would totally be expected and normal to come back down here, maybe the low of the box, or even test this range back down here at 2342 again, put in a nice higher low and continue higher. Or we could hold right here at the highs and continue even higher again. With this kind of look, consolidating at the highs so strongly is another really strong bullish move. Again, I don't want to act like I'm saying we can't go down now, but it's certainly doing what it needs to do to continue making new highs. Taking a look, at the daily chart again, we did kind of tag 2385, which is, that's the level that failed to send us down. So, technically on the daily we need to regain, but on the 4 hour we've already done what we need to do to regain. So that's the first step. If we can regain that level on the daily, we can continue higher. If not, we can come back down. Now that we've put in a higher high on the daily still, we can always come back down to the origin that sent us up there. So until we lose maybe even down here 2321 on the daily, it still looks fine. And on the hourly a little bit higher. Oh no, I'm sorry, even at the same area, 2320. It can easily come back down here and still hold for a nice higher low look. So keep that in mind going forward. The Dow, probably the absolute cleanest strong gain on all of the major indexes, right? We talked about wanting these levels at 39,100 to be regained, and then the range here at 39,300 to about 39,270. We wanted to see that level gain since that's the one that sent us down from that level, and we have done so strongly. We just blasted through that range. So again, we could come back down to test some of those zones, but right now we're putting in new highs, higher highs rather, and if we can regain 39,800, we're looking good for all-time high again. Oil in a bit more of a precarious look. I kind of mentioned last week, if we're going to regain and see oil continue higher, we need to regain above 80.60, and we have not done that. We have put in a higher high on the 4 hour. However, we have then lost it and since lost gained levels. So this looks like we're really right where it is. Maybe a bit lower, 77.62 like we have marked out. That's kind of the last area to hold until we potentially would see lower. And I think one other thing I had talked about that week was, on the weekly chart, that's kind of the level you really don't want to see it lose. So that's something to really watch about. We've been calling for higher on oil, but we need to be prepared to be wrong about that. So definitely watching that level like a hawk, 77.62. You could probably say that it would be all right to test down here at 75.60. I think that's a bit spooky because that was the level that held to send us up at that level initially. The level that was gained was actually the one we're talking about, 77.62 here on the weekly. So we really don't want to see that lost. Otherwise, it's a loss of that gained area. We don't want to see any failing here if we want to see oil continue higher. But it's still kind of in the range we were talking about last week. It could hold here, could go higher, or it could make a new low, regain and then go higher, or it could fail and continue lower. It's still in the range, so nothing has changed on oil. The dollar, had an interesting week. It definitely did some regaining, kind of gained the level that we wanted to see if we were going to continue higher, 105.58. It did not hold the level, but it still kind of looks like a nice higher low look here. I think the thing that I want to see is I don't want to see this level lost, 105.18, call it 0.2. If that level's lost, it's starting to look like we're losing more on the dollar. Again, levels that have been gained, we don't want to see them lost again. So we want to see that hold as a nice higher low look, and then continue to regain above 105.58 and continue back into the range that was lost. So a nice bullish look would be, let's regain this, hold it, and then go back above 105.8. A failure would be, we could test that again, maybe lose it and then continue down for a new low. So some things to consider there. A lot of these markets are in key ranges, and that's pretty clear on or like key areas. KRE, you know, we've been talking about for a while, 50.5, right? So 50-50. If that area can regain, I think me and Price both believe that it's actually going to end up, you know, blasting back up to a new high. That's certainly the major area that we need to see that. It's right on that level. It came right to our level, and now we need to see what happens. So we're either going to close above and continue up, or we're going to, you know, fail and potentially come back down for more support. But this is another chart that's done some regaining. We can come all the way down to this range, or even the origin down here. 48 and potentially put in a nice higher low look. But if we can pay attention to 50-50, I think that that's the level that we really need to regain that, and if we can see higher. Till we regain above 50-50, I don't think we can say that we're well on our way back up to 56-50, but that's kind of what we've been predicting. Like, you know, we have essentially 3 attempts to break it out here. So eventually, you know, how many times can you tag the same level before eventually it breaks? I mean, if they're going to send it lower, that's going to be the level that holds. If it can break above, should be a nice breakout. There's a lot of built stop losses right here. So if we can break above, they're all going to close, and we should see a KRE blast higher. You know, it's not really, I know the analysis is a bit shorter this week, but really kind of everything's just been doing what we've been expecting it to do, kind of reached levels or is still consolidating in major ranges. I think this week is going to be pretty interesting. I think that we're going to see some pretty volatile moves, particularly on Wednesday. There's really important inflation data coming out that will send the market into a very volatile move that day. I guarantee that. You know, we don't trade on fundamentals, but we do want to know when the fundamental news is coming out so that we can prepare for the volatility. I would expect this week is going to be pretty volatile, particularly on Wednesday, and that we could see multiple levels tested, and certainly some big moves that could blast through multiple levels. So definitely something to consider and watch out for. But we'll always be chatting that up in the Discord. So thanks again for tuning in to the Trader Hub Weekly Market Review. If you like this kind of content, sub to the Hub and consider joining our Trader Hub Discord community server. You can find it using our link in the description. See you next week.